watching World News Program live from Algiers. I'm Miriam Zian, and these are your top stories for tonight. On the 34th day of the U.S. Zionist war on Iran, the capital, Tehran, and other provinces were hit by heavy shelling. The Iranian army vows to launch Russian attacks on U.S. and Zionist targets, while Trump threatened with severe strikes in the next 2 to 3 weeks. In Lebanon, martyrs and wounded have been reported in a Zionist raid on southern towns. Hezbollah says it struck strategic targets and settlements deep inside Zionist entity. The Lebanese government emphasizes that the statements of Israeli officials reveal their intentions of occupation and expansion. Algeria and Switzerland affirmed the need to strengthen political dialogue and consolidate economic partnership, and agree to establish an institutional mechanism to develop bilateral cooperation. Hello there and welcome to your nightly news. First, powerful explosions rocked Tehran on Thursday, shaking buildings across the city. Exact targets were unclear, but residents in central areas felt the blasts, with reports of explosions in both the western and eastern regions of the country. The deputy governor of Fars province in southern Iran announced that 4 people were killed and 3 others were injured in Laristan following what was described as a U.S. airstrike. Meanwhile, an official in Hormuz province reported that 5 civilians were injured by a U.S.-Israeli airstrike targeting fishermen's docks and the commercial port of Toshak port. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced on Thursday the launch of the 90th wave of Operation True Promise 4. The IRGC said in a statement that it has warned that repeated attacks on Iranian industries would be met with the destruction of Israeli and U.S. industries in the region, adding that the enemy ignored these warnings and targeted Iran's steel and iron sectors. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said it targeted U.S.-linked steel facilities in Abu Dhabi, remaining parts of U.S.-affiliated aluminum plants in Bahrain, military industries tied to Rafael advanced defense systems, and U.S. Army positions near Manama. The IRGC added that the operation used missiles and drones, causing dozens of U.S. casualties, with targeted areas immediately sealed off and ambulances operating for hours to evacuate the wounded. The Iranian military vowed on Thursday to launch Russian attacks against the United States and the Zionist entity hours after Donald Trump threatened severe strikes on Iran in the coming weeks. In a statement aired on state television, spokesperson Ibrahim Zolfagari said the war would continue, warning of more devastating operations against what he called enemies, leading to humiliation and eventual surrender.
In light of the malicious actions and terrorist measures of the American Zionist enemies and the targeting of residential homes of the Iranian people in various cities, the armed forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran will, in a retaliatory action, target the residences of American and Zionist regime commanders and political officials in the region and in the occupied territories.
US President Donald Trump said that his country is close to achieving its goals in the war against Iran, but will continue heavy strikes for another 2 to 3 weeks. In an address from the White House, Trump praised what he called decisive victories and said the strikes were necessary to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons.
As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. Tonight, I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion.
Donald Trump also insisted the war is not over, warning that the U.S. will carry out extremely heavy strikes against Iran over the next 2 to 3 weeks and threatening to target all power stations if no agreement is reached.
Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages.
The Iranian army said it is fully prepared to confront any enemy actions, including a possible ground invasion of Iran. Commander Amir Hatami stated that forces are ready both offensively and defensively to face any U.S. and Zionist aggression, adding that Iran will continue its strategy until the threat of war is removed and its goals are achieved. This came as Iranian media reported that more than 6 million people have registered to join a potential ground U.S. Zionist ground attack. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad warned on Thursday that Iran-backed Iraqi militias may carry out attacks in central areas within the next 24 to 48 hours. In a security alert posted on X, the embassy urged U.S. citizens to leave the country. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump vowed not to abandon Gulf countries targeted by Iran in response to U.S.-Israeli strikes, stressing that the U.S. will prevent any harm or failure to them.
And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close. I want to thank our allies in the Middle East, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Bahrain. They've been great, and we will not let them get hurt or fail in any way, shape, or form.
And China called for an immediate ceasefire in the Middle East after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened heavy military strikes on Iran in the coming weeks. Spokesperson Mao Ning urged all parties to halt military operations to avoid serious impacts on the global economy and energy security, emphasizing that military means cannot solve the problem, and escalation serves no one's interest.
Military means do not address the fundamental issue. To escalate the conflict does not serve any party's interest. Once again, we urge parties to the conflict to immediately stop military operations and start peace talks as soon as possible to resolve issues through dialogue and negotiation and prevent more serious blows to the world economy and global energy security.
Iran announced on Thursday that it is coordinating with the Sultanate of Oman to draft a bilateral protocol to monitor traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. According to IRNA, Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi said the protocol aims to oversee navigation, ensure safe passage for ships, and provide improved services. And Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said the devastating consequences of this illegal war would affect not only Iran and the region, but the entire world. Pezeshkian added that Iran does not seek to escalate regional tensions or war, but will defend its national interests and security, and rejects any external interference in Strait of Hormuz arrangements. Meanwhile, the U.S. President Donald Trump promised to reopen the Strait of Hormuz normally after the end of attacks on Iran, urging independent countries to take responsibility for it. Let's have a listen.
Future, the United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it. We've beaten and completely decimated Iran. They are decimated, both militarily and economically and in every other way. And the countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it. They must grab it and cherish it. They can do it easily.
For her part, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning stressed that the U.S. Zionist strikes on Iran were the original reason, according to her, for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
The root cause of disruptions to navigation through the Strait of Hormuz is the unlawful military actions carried out by the United States and Israel against Iran. Security and smooth functioning of international shipping lanes can only be fundamentally ensured through a ceasefire and the restoration of peace and stability in the Gulf region. All parties should make joint efforts to de-escalate the situation and prevent further destabilization that could have broader impacts on the global economy and energy security.
And as the war continues in the Middle East and the Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed, fuel prices are surging, adding pressure on households and businesses alike. Prices have risen by more than 30% since the start of the conflict with Iran. Marwa Belawar has more details in this report.
On the fertile lands of South Africa, farmer Derek Matthews watches an old fuel pump fill his tractor with diesel on his 1,700-hectare farm. Uncertain whether supplies will last just days before harvest season begins.
When I put the order in, the price was still at 18 Rand a litre. Okay. The supplier has not been able to deliver for me. Every second day they come back and then there's this hold up, they haven't got fuel, their trucks didn't get fuel, they haven't got fuel, so I don't know.
From South Africa to the United States, consumers are feeling the strain of rising fuel prices. In the U.S., gasoline prices have climbed above $4 per gallon for the first time since the summer of 2022, reaching their highest level in early 4 years, according to data from the American Automobile Association.
I commute a lot, so I'm paying like $30 more in the prices that I used to pay. So it's really taking a toll on my wallet, and it's not a good look for the economy. I think this is just the beginning. I honestly think it's going to get worse, and we're just seeing the beginnings of this. And yeah, I think we're heading into a crisis.
The global surge in fuel prices is weighing on economies, driving inflation higher, increasing shipping and goods costs by up to 10 to 15%, and slowing economic growth as household and business spending declines. For energy-importing countries, the pressure on public finances is mounting, raising the risk of a broader global stagflation crisis.
The Lebanese Ministry of Health announced the deaths of 4 civilians and injury of several others in a Zionist airstrike that targeted a town in southern Lebanon on Thursday morning. Lebanese National News Agency, quoting the Ministry of Health's Emergency Operations Center, reported that Zionist warplanes carried out an airstrike targeting the town of Al-Ramadiyah in the Tyre district, resulting in the deaths of 4 civilians and injuries to 3 others. Hezbollah announced that its forces had struck strategic targets, several settlements and Zionist military positions in the occupied Palestinian territories. In the statement, the party confirmed that it had targeted at various times on Thursday a Zionist military command center and 3 settlements in the occupied Palestinian territories. Hezbollah also revealed that it had targeted an Israeli helicopter with a surface-to-air missile over the border town of Ramiyah, forcing it to retreat. The statement further indicated that Hezbollah had targeted Israeli military positions in the town of Taiba and the Khiyam detention center with 2 missile salvos. The Lebanese government said the Israeli official statements and army actions reveal intentions to expand occupation and create buffer zones in the country. Lebanon's Prime Minister Nawaf Salam stated that decisions on war and peace must remain with the state, emphasizing Lebanon's commitment to avoid further losses, reject hatred, and revenge rhetoric, and noting that refugees are the first and greatest victims of a war they did not cause. Algerian Minister of Foreign and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf met on Thursday in Bern with the Vice President of the Swiss Confederation, Ignacio Cassis. According to an Algerian Foreign Ministry statement, the meeting reviewed all aspects of Algeria-Switzerland relations and explored ways to strengthen political dialogue, economic partnership, and humanitarian cooperation. The two ministers also discussed international and regional issues, including developments in the Middle East and the Sahel region. Algeria and Switzerland agreed to establish an institutional mechanism to develop bilateral cooperation and strengthen the legal framework governing their relations. The two sides reviewed the historical ties between the two countries, including Swiss support during Algeria's liberation war and their role in facilitating the Evian negotiations that led to the independence. And during his official visit to Switzerland, Mr. Ahmed Attaf was received in Bern by the President of the National Swiss National Council, Pierre-André Page, according to the Algerian Foreign Ministry. The meeting reviewed the friendship and cooperation between the two countries and explored ways for their parliaments to strengthen bilateral partnership through parliamentary diplomacy mechanisms. The Algerian minister delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Saïd Chengriha, stated that the current global geopolitical context is shifting, paving the way for a new world order that presents complex strategic choices for southern countries. Speaking at the 19th session of the Steering Council of the Higher War School in Algiers, Chengriha emphasized that a country's status is no longer guaranteed by past glories, but depends on continuously strengthening its geostrategic and organizational capacities.
يشهد السياق الجيوسياسي العالمي الراهن.
The current geopolitical context is witnessing shifts in international balance that pave the way for a new world order, which places the southern countries before complex strategic choices. The status of today's countries is no longer guaranteed by the glories of the past, but conditioned by the success in the mission of continuously strengthening the geostrategic and coordinating capabilities of the state, maintaining its popular and economic solidity, adapting its defense system, developing its scientific and technological capacities, so that proactivity in planning, flexibility in decision-making, and the ability to employ all the state's resources and comparative feeders are the basic guarantees to continue effective existence in a turbulent and chaotic world.
General Saïd Chengriha stated that the Algerian army continues to adapt its defense system in all its dimensions. It contributes to building a comprehensive national narrative that serves the vital interests of the state.
في هذا السياق تحديداً يواصل.
In this particular context, the People's National Army, under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, continues its mission of adapting our defense system in all its dimensions, notably through the development of the technological capabilities of the weapon system, the preparation and training of human resources to utilize these systems efficiently and effectively, in addition to ensuring the security of national supply chains and the hosting of defense industries.
The permanent resident of the United Nations Development Programme in Algeria, Natasha Van Rijn, highlighted the importance of the Green Dam project as a pioneering model for environmental adaptation in the region. Speaking at the national meeting, Plant Species, the Green Dam as a Model, held in Algiers, Van Rijn noted that the project is not only a successful national initiative, but also a regional and international example for combating desertification and climate change.
The barrage vert can serve as an example not only to Algerians who know it well since it started in 1970, but also to the region and the world. It's a very interesting example of how to adapt to climate change phenomena that we're all experiencing. Algeria can serve as a very key example to regional actors in the context of desertification, including through the barrage vert, but not only, since the country is adapting to the different changes that are taking place, desertification, questions around water and desalination that we know examples of. Algeria is well positioned to serve as an example across the region for a phenomenon that is affecting, in fact, all countries across the region.
That's a wrap for tonight's news bulletin. Thank you for watching. See you later.